Hey everybody, I'm Daniel. I'm an editor at Nintendo Wire, and guess what? We finally got some new Animal Crossing New Horizons footage after a months-long dry spell. The new footage comes as part of last week's Nintendo Direct, and while there isn't a ton of new information to glean from it, there are a few tidbits I was able to pick out. So, let's jump right into our analysis of the video. Welcome to Island Life. The video starts off with our very first look at Dodo Airlines, where it looks like the player and two animals will be arriving via seaplane at the very start of the game. The series' iconic leaf logo is on the flag, and the island at the game's onset seems to be the epitome of deserted, with weeds seen absolutely everywhere. We're treated to a nice little flyby of a river, with swaying flowers in frame along with a tiger butterfly fluttering about, a fish and bug in the water, and a buried item by the shore, which we hadn't seen before. The biggest takeaway from this scene, though, is the existence of cedar trees on the town's lower level. This has never before been possible in an Animal Crossing game. Up until now, cedar trees could only be grown north of a town's river in Wild World and New Leaf, on the upper level of a town in City Folk, and in the top 2 acres of a village in the GameCube version. We pan over to the beach, where we can see what looks like a Raja Brook butterfly, although its appearance doesn't exactly match its models in past games. Next, we see a boy character wandering around before he goes to speak to Bill the Duck, confirming his return in New Horizons. We can see what's presumably his tent in the background. It's going to be pretty cool having our fellow villagers paying off their own mortgages alongside us for a change. Next, we have confirmation of Tammy's return, and she seems like she's going through something, so let's just move on. Bill and Tammy are seen together with the boy player headed over to the Nook family's tent. We know from developer interviews that each island in New Horizons will have the player start off with 2 random animals, so Bill and Tammy seem to be the lucky duo that joined this player on their adventure. Did you catch the bulletin board over to the side here? In past games, a single yellow bird, or owl at night, at least at New Leaf, is indicative of a new bulletin posting. With 4 yellow birds here, could that mean there are 4 new postings to read? Tommy hands the player their tent to set up wherever they want on the island, and it looks like good old Ken here has decided to set it up on the beach. What's interesting about this is that Tom Nook no longer follows the player around to tell them where they can and cannot place it, like he did in New Leaf. Looks like we haven't ditched him completely yet though, as he soon appears to hand over a Nook phone. However, the timing of when this occurs in game has us a bit confused. The player in the last clip has just set up their tent and has no mail in their mailbox, but in the scene where Tom Nook presents them with the Nook phone, there's a mail notice. We're thinking something happens between setting up your tent and receiving the Nook phone. Perhaps running errands for Tom and the Nooklings, like in previous games? We get a look at the Nook phone in action. We can see the player's cell reception, the time, location tracking indicator, and 6 different apps: Camera, Nook Miles, DIY Recipes, the Map app in the bottom middle, and 2 never-before-seen apps, one with an icon of a shirt with a pencil, and one with an icon of a book with a face on it. We're guessing the shirt and pencil app will be used for designing patterns like in past games, but we're not totally sure what the last one is. In previous footage shown during E3 2019 though, a similar looking icon can be seen with a similar looking face on a flag. This app has been identified as the Call Islander app, so our first guess was that this one's just had a bit of a redesign since the summer. However, later on we can see both these apps coexisting. So what is this mystery book icon app? In the DIY Recipes app, we can see the interface has had a bit of a redesign as well. Each craftable item name now has an icon indicating the type of item it is next to it, plus some information about how much room it takes up on the grid. There's this pockets text that replaced the inventory and wardrobe measures from previous footage. We're not totally sure what this means, but given that the flimsy fishing rod has a check mark along with the same basket icon on its card, we're thinking this is just used to tell the player if they already have this item and how many copies of it they have. Changing inventory and wardrobe to pockets is curious though. Will players have more than one inventory in New Horizons? We see the boy player collecting craft materials to make a flimsy axe, which he then uses to whack a tree for even more materials. In the background, we can see some sort of red and green beetle, apparently a new insect for the series. On the beach, we can clearly see a cloud casting its shadow on the sand. Beautiful. Boy, has this series presentation come a long way from the GameCube days. The boy arranges some stuff in his tent, and outside, before heading back to Tom Nook and his nephews. Here we can see an item called a cardboard box, purchasable for 100 bells. What could this be used for? It's also revealed that we can corrupt the young Nooklings by selling them weeds, as well as any other unwanted items as part of their island cleanup plan. Skipping ahead a bit, we're introduced to a girl sporting a new hairstyle in a rockin' purple color. She catches a common butterfly, waters some flowers, and then picks them in the spring to create a flower crown to wear on her head. Another butterfly species flutters in the distance, but it's hard to pinpoint what it is. Filbert arrives on the scene holding a picnic basket, and we can see what's presumably a fruit beetle on the apple tree on the right here. The leaf umbrella, which we saw earlier in the DIY Recipes app, is put to use in the rain, and the video's narrator implies it can be crafted by using weeds. Lily's also here, confirming her return as well. Eating fruit seems to serve a purpose now, as this indicator on the upper left appears to measure how many fruits the player has eaten. The narrator seems to suggest that by eating fruit, the player is awarded enough strength to unearth entire trees and replant them wherever they want. Butch can also be seen here in a cozy Argyle sweater before plopping himself on the grass while the player casually drops a tree behind him. Moving on, we're given a look at just how incredibly dynamic the weather in New Horizons is, with clouds moving and growing in ways never before seen in the Animal Crossing series. The narrator also makes sure to point out how wind can blow through trees now. And possibly my favorite scene in the whole video, the player is seen staring off as a firefly hovers by her and a meteor streaks through the sky. A telescope is seen at her side, but whether it's usable or just a nice piece of decoration remains to be seen. The next few scenes zip by fast, but we see a cicada, a darner dragonfly, Roll the penguin fishing, Antonia the anteater holding a book, a monarch butterfly, a grasshopper, several types of mushrooms, a pond smelt, and the return of humorous text when catching bugs and fish. Next, we can see the player using the Call Islander app to easily call another human player to play with them. Up to 4 players on one Nintendo Switch system can play at a time, while up to 8 players can play together via a wireless or internet connection. We can see the camera app in action here, along with a few fun filters, and a red snapper. Again, things go by fast here, but we can confirm the return of money rocks and fossils, as well as the debut of a seemingly brand new type of butterfly. Pee-wee fans will be happy to know that he's definitely in the game, although he's standing by some strange bundle of mushrooms we've never seen in an Animal Crossing game before. Is this an outdoor decoration you can place, or some sort of new type of spawn? We shift to a winter scene, and can I just say, this game is absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, there's a snowflake decoration on this cabin door, and we can see Fauna and Peanut chatting it up outside. Rosie shows up next holding a bundle of wood, followed by Angus. We then have Wolfgang sitting on a tree stump and watching as the player catches a snowflake with their net. Lopez is wandering among some flowers as the player lays down a path, then curves it off with a swipe of their paving tool. The final scene shows the player tossing some bait in the ocean before a fish swims up to nibble at it. Throughout the video, we can hear a handful of new music, and given that these tunes all sound like renditions of the main theme, I'm guessing this is our first taste of some of the hourly tracks that'll play during the game. I for one quite like them. They're certainly more interesting on an instrumental level than what we've seen from Wild World, City Folk, and New Leaf. In fact, these remind me a lot of what we got in the original GameCube game. So like I said, not a whole lot we didn't already know about thanks to E3, but just enough to wet our whistles. I for one wasn't really expecting any Animal Crossing news in the Direct, so what we got made me pretty happy. Unfortunately, Animal Crossing New Horizons is still a few months out, but from all the footage we've gotten, it's turning out to look pretty fantastic already. I'm really curious about what later stages of the game look like, especially how fan favorites like Isabelle and other special NPCs are going to return. Anyway, that's it for our analysis. Animal Crossing New Horizons is set to launch worldwide on March 20th, 2020, so stay connected to Nintendo Wire for more great Animal Crossing New Horizons content as we gear up for its launch. What do you think of my analysis? Was there anything I missed? Is there anything you caught that you'd like to share with us? Sound off in the comments. Keep up with us on all our social channels and be sure to check us out at our website at nintendowire.com as well. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing if you haven't already. Until next time, see you later.